Okay, so good morning. This morning we're going to talk a little about the plant life cycle. Has anyone ever learned about the plant life cycle before? Or can anyone tell me what the plant life cycle is? Okay, today we'll be listening to others. We will be listening to our group members and their ideas and what they think. When we speak to each other, we're going to speak respectfully and we're going to understand each other, okay? We're going to make sure we are listening and we make sure we're paying attention, okay? For our reading, we're going to make sure we are reading thoroughly and reading everything that we have because we don't want to miss anything, right? And then also, for writing, we're going to write legibly so I can see. If I can't see it, I don't know what you're writing, right? Right? So it's really important that you. Okay, so let's go over some key vocabulary. So we have our stem, which y'all know is the stem of our plant, right? We have our pistil, our stamen, our root, our flower, and our leaves. So today we're going to be looking at all these different parts plus some more. So using these parts, we're going to look inside of a flower, which is super cool. So we're going to look inside the flower and get to see all these parts. So when we do this, you're going to be able to look at them and not only see what they are, but see how they work together. We're going to start off today by doing our foldable, okay? So on our foldable, on the top, I'd like you to put your name, because that is the most important, so I know you have done this correctly. And then going down the lines, we are going to have these 6 vocabulary words, okay? If you feel you want to put more of them on there, that's going to help you, then you're more than welcome to do that. But I need to see all 6 of these on there. So when you open it, you need to have their definitions, what they do, how they work, okay, and how they work together. That's going to be the most important part. I don't want you cutting anything until I give directions to do so, but I do need you to make sure you're following directions and paying attention. If you have any questions, then please let me know, okay? Do you have any questions? Okay, on this chart, I want you to label what you think each part of the flower is before we actually do the dissection, okay? That's because I want to know what you know first. I don't want you to use the flower too much. I want you to do what you know first, and then we'll go from there. Because the whole point of this is we're going to investigate what's in that flower and how it works. So if you fill out the flower chart first, then guess what? We're just going to experiment and kind of look at that flower and get our real answers, okay? Okay, now that we had our foldables done and they are completed, you're going to be allowed to use these while we do our investigations and while we dissect our flower, okay? So while we are dissecting the flower, we need to remember there is no horseplay, there's no running around, there's no further investigations. We are looking for what we need to look for, which is what? Yes, parts of the flower, okay? That's the only thing we're looking for today. So when you get your papers that passed out to you, you're going to get 3 different kinds of materials. You have your flat book with you. You are going to have a sheet with a flower diagram on there. And the answers are going to be missing because guess what? You will be finding the answers today, okay? So after you find those answers, what we're going to do is we're going to dissect that flower, okay? If you need help, what are you going to do? You are going to ask me, okay? I can't have you guys doing that by yourself if you don't feel comfortable doing it, or if you are playing around, I will be taking them away, okay? So you guys are going to be in groups of 4, so you're going to have 1 flower per group, okay? When you're looking at the flower, you are going to have a magnifying glass. You're going to make sure you are looking at all these different parts and finding what you need to find. If you don't feel like you are finding those things, guess what? Just raise your hand and ask me, and I'll be sure to come over and help you guys out with those, okay? Do you have any questions before we start that? Okay, perfect. Okay, so now that we have dissected our flower, we've found all these different great things, right? We've learned a lot about what's inside the flower and how they work, right? So, if we're looking at this flower, and our flower doesn't have any leaves, what's going to happen? What's going to be missing? What won't we be able to do? How won't the life cycle of our plant continue? Anyone tell me? What have we done today? Sally. Yes, we made a flat book with all of our vocabulary words, which is going to do what? What is that going to do? Joshua. It's going to help us remember our vocabulary words. It's going to help us on our test, right? What else did we do today? We dissected a flower. That is correct. And what did we do? What did we learn? What did we see in those? You're right. We have to see all these different parts, right? And how they work together to do what? What did we learn the most about? Dave? Right, the life cycle, right? The plant life cycle. How it starts, how it ends, right? We learned about the reproductive parts that help our flower have this cycle, okay? Good job, guys. Before we end today and move on to our next, do we have any questions? Do you have any questions about the life cycle, about any of our parts? No? Okay, well, when you do have questions, you're going to come ask me. You're going to come ask Shanard, right? Or guess what? We have all these great resources that we just got today, right? So we have our diagram, we have our flat book. So we're going to use those and anything else that we have in our textbooks that might help us, okay? Good job, guys.